But one of the things I'm going to just kind of really hit on is a lot of the things that have helped us maintain the consistency level. If there's anything that you can take with this, it's a lot of stuff, to be honest with you, that I've gotten from clinics along the way as well. So I want to help you out in any way I possibly can. So first of all, we're certainly not the best team in the state each year in and out. We're not like a Kimberly type team. You know, we don't have a population where we get any school choice kids. We get what we get. We don't have a lot of move-in kids, anything like that. But what we have been able to do is avoid any down years, any real low years, and had any major dips. You know, we've been able to maintain a really pretty high level of consistency. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about, is all the things we feel like that are the reason for that. And so hopefully some of this can kind of help you along the way in your program. So right now we're currently at a state record of 28 straight playoff appearances in a row and no losing seasons in those 29 years. That first year I was at Menominee in 1989, we inherited 23 players. That's what we had out for football, you know, 9 through 12. And we didn't make the playoffs that year because back then you had to be a conference champion or a runner-up, and we were neither. We were third place, so we didn't make the playoffs. And you know, if you look at some of the things we've done, so 8 years out of the years we've been there, we haven't won the conference, or at least had a share of it. And so it's been pretty successful. But it's gotten to be an uphill battle because, like in '97 when we were loaded, we had some great players in '97. We were just loaded with players that year. You know, we beat the two teams that played for the state championship in Minnesota that year, and we ended up nationally ranked that year. But we were 1257. We had a pretty high enrollment. Now this year, we were this, and it's been this way the last 3 years. It's been an uphill battle for us. We've been the smallest Division II team. As a matter of fact, this past year, 2 Milwaukee schools ended up having to forfeit their games, or they would have been into the playoffs, and we would have been a Division III team. That was kind of hard for our kids to take because Rice Lake goes on and wins the state title, but we kind of handily defeated. But we ended up stuck in D2 at the bottom because of the fact of those 2 forfeitures kept us in, you know, Division II. So it's been a really uphill battle because we've had such a drop in enrollment in the last few years. But we've still been able to maintain a consistency level. And I'm just going to go over some things why. So the first thing is, and that kind of explains all that, is some of the ideas in philosophy. A lot of the stuff I've gotten from clinics, so I want to share with you. And just anything that I can help you with. I think as coaches right now, our game's really under a lot of attack. We got to try to help each other as any way possible to try to promote the game and do the things we can do to help each other. So feel free to ask questions, okay? I think this is a big one, is, you know, you got to have mental toughness, and you got to teach it, especially nowadays. When I first came to Menominee, 80% of our kids were farm kids. They were mentally tough already. That's disappeared with the family farm disappearing. So I think you got to teach mental toughness more than anything. And I think those years where you're lean on talent, that'll keep you at least competitive if you're mentally tough. And I think you got to create mental toughness. I look at, like I said, 99, and we won the state title in 99, and we didn't have an old lineman over 200 pounds, and at our level, that's tough to do. But we were really mentally tough, gritty kids. We weren't overly fast. We were just tough. The reason we won state title in 99. In 2014, I've never had a year like that in my life. We lost 2 of our old linemen in the first week of practice. We went to our scrimmage, and I started wondering if you should even play kids in the scrimmage. We lost both our linebackers in the scrimmage. We got into our first game. Nate Stanley broke his throwing hand, so we lost him for the season. And we got into our second game and thinking, what the hell are we going to do? We don't have much left. And we still ended up having a winning season because of the fact our kids, we had some tough kids that had to take their place just on mental toughness. Okay, go ahead. So what kind of things can you do? I'd say if you take one thing out of this presentation, this is something I stole at a coach's clinic that I was at in Florida. I think this is one of the best things we do. So if you can steal one idea, I think this is a great one. Is Champions Club that we have. So on our day, we lift on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the summer. And our kids know on Thursday, it's going to be a bastard. It's going to be a bitch. But the kids kind of embrace it because it's a kind of a fun thing, a curiosity thing too. But we take the kids somewhere on Thursday when that lifting day is done, we take the kids somewhere different in the community, and it's good for the community to see them out doing this. And whatever we do, it's going to be a bastard. And our coaches have gotten a thing, they drive around town, I got one for this week. This is where we're going to go and we're going to do this. and they think up ideas. But we're going to take the kids somewhere in the community, and what we do is going to be really tough. And we're telling kids it's going to create mental toughness. It's going to have an element of 4 quarters. And it's one thing, it takes them away from the weight room, something different. It's a change of pace. The kids embrace it. We started it saying it wasn't mandatory, but the older kids said, you guys are coming. And we don't take our freshmen, it's just sophomores through varsity. It really gets those sophomores to be, they're coming up into their sophomore, all they know is freshman football, to understand it's a big jump up to go to sophomore level. And the older kids carry them. Sometimes those sophomore kids, they want to stop when we're doing it, and the older kids, they ain't stopping. And so it usually has some element of 4 quarters, and the kids never know what it's going to be. Thursday morning when they get to it, what is it thing? I don't know. And then we don't tell them until right before we leave school. Load up in your cars, drive safe, here's where we're going. Okay? We're going to just show you some of these, just to give you an idea of what they are. Okay? And we put them on huddle, we send them out to their parents. So they get to see what they're doing too, the kids and the parents. So the first one, we have a restaurant in town that's called the Waterfront. It has 372 steps from the top. It's a real steep grade all the way down to the water. And they got to sprint down those steps. When they get to the water, there's a nature trail that goes to the end. And our basketball coach is standing on the end of the nature trail, so they got to come down all those steps. They got to come and fist bump the basketball coach and turn around and come back up. And that's 1 quarter. We usually average 10 to 12, maybe 15 to 20 kids puking during this one. But it builds mental toughness. Those kids don't stop. Go ahead and play this one. Okay. Drew Price is one of my assistants. I'm not a great tech guy, so he's kind of going to do this for me. Hopefully we don't have problems loading this up. Won't work. Really hope we can get this going, because this is something that we really builds mental toughness in our kids. Like I said, if you took one thing from this clinic, this is one of the things why I think really gets our kids tough and gritty. And get the huddle going.
Hey, let's go, boys!
This is the start of it. They're still pretty fresh.
Hey, don't skip any, let's go!
And we got a coach at each level of stairs. So if somebody would go down, we're covered liability, safety-wise.
Let's go, big guys!
We got chubby buddies just like everybody else. This ain't fun for them, but it creates that mental toughness. They're not going to quit. We had one girl basketball player that wanted to go with us every time. She did every single one.
Hey, let's go, big guys!
Winner! Yeah, I thought someone was going to push me.
Push! There we go! Keep moving, Jake! Alright!
You can see it's a long ways down to the water. One group's on their way back up, and that'd be just 1 quarter.
Hey, let's go, Spawn!
And this is another one. We have a big ski hill in our town, and it's really huge. It's a sliding hill. They got to carry dumbbells. They got to go all the way to the top and all the way back down, carrying the dumbbells. And some of them have plates because we didn't have enough dumbbells in our weight room. And so we have every sophomore. I think we have to the varsity. Last year we had 147 kids out for football, freshman through senior. And so every kid that's a sophomore at varsity again. That girl joined us for every one. And for some of these big kids, this hill is steep now. It's tough for them. But we got coaches all around, and coaches all got water bottles. So if a kid would go down, we're right there. And there's kids that it's hard for them to finish. But it really creates mental toughness.
Let's go.
You can see for these chubby buddies, this is a bear now.
Keep going, Munoz, let's go! Keep pushing, there you go, Pat, Let's go, Munoz!
And our young coaches are encouraging them and stuff.
Let's go! There you go, boys!
But these two didn't quit. They did all 4 quarters.
Oh, we got the first one! Sniper! Sniper!
One went down, so we got their howling sniper. One went down already. And you can see it's a long ways up and a long ways down. You can see our kids that are better athletes, better shape, they're up front and they're pushing it.
Woo! There you go, Tom. Get that hair out of there.
The next one's kind of my favorite one. We take the kids and we divide the kids in 4 teams of 20. And we take 2 battle, just freeze it for a second. We take 2 battle ropes and we hook them through the front of my truck. My truck was 16 years old. It's an old beater truck that's got 300,000 miles on it. But we hooked 2 battle ropes through the front of it. And this is a really big steep hill. It's funny because the neighbors all come out and watch this thing. And they got 1 minute to see how high they can get that truck up the hill. And the losing team's got to go pick up garbage around school. The winning team gets a Gatorade. And it's a bear. They start off, they're really moving that truck. But when they hit that big steep grade, their legs turn to rubber. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. It's a teamwork thing, but also a competitive thing element we're into this Champions Club. Their legs are dying in a hurry now. But it's changing that mental aspect of taking them somewhere different in town and putting that challenge in front of them somewhere, I think really makes a big difference. You can see they're slowing down in a hurry. And it's funny when you get to the last one, I'll have them go to the last one. The kids who don't want to pick up garbage, they're hollering at the other kids, your legs are dead, you're tired, you're done, you guys are done, trying to get the other team to stop. So there's a mental, and again it creates that mental estimate part of it, the toughness part. You can see our basketball coach, Matt Riley, is my freshman football coach. He's kind of going up ahead of him, he's running the stopwatch. And we always have guys around, so if somebody would go down, we're taken care of from a liability standpoint. I'm inside the truck, so that's a lot of weight added to it as well.
Back in. We got this pipe. Keep going.
You can hear them gasping for air, but telling each other to keep pushing it.
20 seconds. Give her help.
They're gassed when they're done. But it's a great element of competition, but also building that mental toughness. The next one is we take a tire, and this is again a competition where we take a tire and we put those battle ropes across 4 battle ropes. And we put it right in the middle of the basketball court so that it's an equal square. And then they got to go for 30 seconds, and whichever way that tire gets pulled the furthest is the winner. And again, we do this right outside the weight room of this one. And again, it's a competitive, trying to get your kids to compete, be mentally tough, and not giving up when things get hard. So you can see there are 4 teams. So there's a tire in the middle, and there's 4 battle ropes hooked through each part of the tire. You end up with a winner, but again, it's building a lot of mental toughness. Okay? Other things we do to build mental toughness for the kids is offense against the world. We'll put the ball on the 6-yard line. They got 3 plays to score. They get in, and every week it's a challenge. We do this every single week. They get in, they get 2 more players, a scout D. They get in, they score 3, they get 2 more players. And it's a pride thing. Our old linemen want to get it up to over 23, 24. Most we've ever gotten to is 36. And we're going to throw 2 more scout players. No linemen have that mindset of we can run the ball against anybody. We couldn't pass if we wanted to. So we start with 11 guys. If we score on that first three plays from 6-yard line, the scout D get 2 more. And our line coach is a big fan of animal. So every time we score, he hollers out, "Thank you, may we have another? Send 2 more." And they keep sending them in until we get stopped. And we've had times with O-line, we've gotten stopped after only 13, 15 players, but they want to get it up over the 20s. And our old linemen, they take pride in that thing, but it's a mental toughness thing. There's kids standing in each gap, and they're standing over there, and our backs take pride in it, that, hey, one guy ain't going to tackle me anyway, kind of thing. And again, it's a mental toughness thing. The next thing, field goal extra point for conditioning. Our kickers hate this, but they're going to be put in pressure situations in the game. So we line them up, and we say, and this is usually on Wednesdays, and we'll say, you got 5 extra points and a field goal from each hash. That's only an easy, 30-yard field goal from 5. For every one you miss, this is what we're adding to conditioning. And it's tough on the kicker, but again, we're building mental toughness in that kicker because he's going to be put in that situation in the games. So everything's put on that kicker, and the kids all go crazy if he makes them all. But it's a mental toughness thing that kicker is going to need during that situation. Okay? Go ahead. Conditioning. We do this 2, 4, 6, 8, where it's 200s, 480s, 660s, 840s, minutes rest in between each one. It's tough. Our linemen have a hard time with it. But it's a mental toughness thing. We do Razorbacks, and when we say O versus D, Razorbacks, we'll throw our number 1 O against our number 1 D and say, all right, this one's for Razorbacks. After everybody else's conditioning is done. The Razorbacks you're running full speed. When they hit the whistle, you got to lay out on your stomach, slide on the grass, get up and start running until you hear the next whistle. And again, that's a tough conditioning. It wears you out in a hurry. And again, we're getting them to compete, and we're building mental toughness. Say, this is what's on the line, number 1 O versus number 1 D. Okay? Defense stops for conditioning. We'll take our scout O and we'll say, all right, scout O, you got 5 times the ball from the 15-yard line. If you score on any one of those 5, you guys get a Gatorade. Okay? And the scout, just kind of reward your guys for being scout O. Defense, if they score, if they score one of those 5, you got Razorbacks. So it raises the intensity level of offense. Scout O gets them more mentally tough. Kids are going to be your players next year, and also your defensive guys. Okay. Next one. I really think if you're not going to, like I said, we really haven't dipped way down. We finished 3rd twice in our 29 years. I'm not saying we win the conference every year, but we haven't finished below 3rd. Twice we finished 3rd. We haven't really dipped, and I think the reason being is I have a great defensive coordinator. He's been with me almost the whole time, Pat Bundy, and he is huge on those. Those years that we aren't great talent, we better be able to tackle. And obviously, every time, whether you're talented or not. So we really spend a lot of time on tackling, but the game's changed. Our lives as coaches have changed with all the concussion scares and beating and the restrictions that's given to us on contact. So we've changed, and we do a lot of different tackling things than we've done before, but we're still going to do tackling every time we're in pads. And we do this tackling circuit every single Tuesday. And some things are different than when I was a coach in Florida right out of college. We used to beat the hell out of each other, and things have changed. So we're just going to show you some of the things that we've done. And my defensive coordinator does a great job with the defense. And so this is the first one. So these kids are rotating around, and each time they come to my station and the Drew station, we're going to adapt it for what position they play. They rotate with their position group. So like this one, I'm talking to our D lineman about, when that quarterback's back to pass, when he sees you coming, he's going to shuffle this way or he's going to shuffle this way to create a pass. When the D-backs came to me to this station, I'm having them backpedal with the guy behind me, and that guy's either showing draw, screen, or pass. If he shows draw, now they're coming forward. And we take one of those shadow men, we got a rope tied to each one of the arms of the shadow men, because kids have to adjust to movement. Tackling something that's stationary doesn't help you. And so we got a manager on each one with a rope, and they're looking at me, and I'm telling them this right at the end. So right when those kids get there at the end, that thing's going to change. Now they got to change and direct and come up through it. They're not beating the hell out of each other, and they're going to land on a soft mat. They're not going to get hurt on that hard surface when they land. So this one is D-line, and I'm showing them what I want out of it, that, hey, they're going to move. We got our sophomores with us. They don't always practice with us. What they do here is they're going to come down with us. Let's freeze a second. Our sophomores practice separate, but they're coming down with us during this part because we can't take all the stuff up to the sophomore field and set it up again. So they're going to do a tackling circuit with us, then they're going to leave and go back to their practice. So go ahead. Go. So it changes right at the end. It makes them have to move right at the end. So they have to redirect right at that last second and keep their legs running. So it makes them move right at that last second. And they're not landing on a hard surface. Now, just freeze for a second, Coach. So the D-backs, I had them backpedaling like it's a hitch or a draw. Now they had to come forward, and at the last second, I'm telling them which way to move it, and they're having to run through it with their hips and create that movement at the end. Okay? Go ahead, Coach. This one, it's part of the station. I think these are D-backs. They're just doing strip stuff and getting off blocks first. But it's one element of this. Every Tuesday, we're doing this rotation of, they're going through this tackling circuit. Okay, and this is just a sideline one, which I'm sure everybody does, when we're not beating the hell out of each other. But you can see all this is going on at the same time. And we're adjusting it by the position group. When the D-linemen were doing this one, they were real close. Okay, go to the next one. So again, we're not beating the hell out of each other. They're going to play off a block, head across in a tackle, but they're hitting the pad instead of hitting the guy. Okay? And we do live in practice, we're tackling live. But in this circuit, we just want to not beat the hell out of each other and really build fundamentals of tackling. Okay, next one, we're just teaching leg drive. Because some kids drag their legs when they tackle, and we're just teaching leg drive with this one.
Going this way.
So again, I don't think you can be a consistent team if you can't tackle year in, year out. You got to be able to tackle, and you got to work at it. And the game's changed, and I think the way you tackle has to do some things different. Okay. And I saw this statement one time, and I talked to our kids about it a lot. I talked to our parents about it a lot. Is no coach or parent ever coddled a young man to greatness. And so we coach our kids hard. We're a little bit old school, and we tell our parents, we're going to get on your kids at times, and it's going to teach them about life and growing up, okay? And I always tell the parents, too, no player is ever going to come back 15 years from now and say, Coach, thanks for taking it easy on me, But you're going to have a lot of guys come back and say, thanks for pushing me. And I talked to our parents about this one. 2 years ago, we had a guy, Tristan Wallace, he's a Navy SEAL. He had a little break off. He's all over the world. Never know where he is, but he's all over. He came back to our practice. We're practicing, and we were really getting after. We're pushing kids with a Razorback stuff. And he was down watching practice. And he was sitting down watching practice. Came to practice, wanted to come see the coaches. And afterwards, he said, "Do you mind if I say something to the kids?" And I said, "You bet." And he brought all the players in. And the thing he said is that if you coaches could bottle what you're teaching right now down here, you'd be millionaires. He goes, this is what's missing in our society is mental toughness. And he talked to the kids about the reason I made it through all the training and stuff that it takes to be a Naval SEAL is what I got right here. He goes, the reason I'm still alive is what I got right here, and then the mental toughness I got when I went to SEAL training. He talked about that aspect. He goes, you guys absorb everything they're teaching you here. It was great to have him hear from someone other than us for once. But I think that was a great example for him saying about the mental toughness that he received as a player, just like you guys are all teaching. So, okay, next one I think is really a lost art is goal setting. A good majority of our kids are living one day at a time. Unfortunately, it's because a lot of their parents are too. And kids don't know how to set goals, and we spend a lot of time. We always tell the kids before we hand them out the goal sheets, and I'm going to give these out just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Mike, would you mind helping me?
You got it?
I know you're a big dog college coach, buddy, but I'm gonna put you to work.
How about that?
And if somebody wants to hand these out over here. So, one of the things we think what's really helped us stay a consistent team is teaching the kids this. We always tell the kids before we ever give the goal sheets out, you will not be great when you start, especially you guys that are freshmen. But if you never start, you're never going to be great, okay? So go ahead. So January, we've had this meeting already with our kids, and I printed off some extra goal sheets because I knew I was going to do this. We give them these goal sheets, and then we followed up with an individual meeting. They got to sit down with this goal sheet with me, okay? And we have board week goals. In between winter and spring sports, we have a big board in our weight room. 40-yard dashboard, pull-ups board, vertical jump board, and we meet with each one of the kids before and they make their goals. And then they have June goals. What do they want to do by June? And then you can see under their season goals. But we also put personality goals. What's your weakness? Honesty? What's your weakness? Mental toughness? What's your weakness? Laziness? Truthfulness? And so on. Academic goals. And then who are you guys this upcoming season? And who are this one I always really like to look at. Who are your guys on your team this upcoming season you know you can count on or lean on? In other words, they have to write 3 names. Look on that sheet. Who are the guys you think you can count on to lead our team? And then there's another segment on there that says, who's the guy you would go to talk to if you really had some problem at home, something down, something's wrong in your life? What kid on your team? It might not be one of those 3 guys that's a captain, but what guy do they feel like, hey, I can go and talk to this guy. I can count on this guy. But you're welcome to copy any of that or look at any of that. I think it's a big thing with our kids. Our kids really put some thought into it. I don't give it to them and take it back that day. I said, you got 1 week to go home and think about this. I want them back in a week, and so on. And I better not have to come looking for you to get them back. Okay? Go ahead. Thank you. First week, we buy some pizzas and bring the kids in, and we go through the same thing now as a team. And then kids are talking out loud and so on. Okay? And talk about where we think we can fit in the conference, where playoffs and so on. We really talk to the kids. This can't be just words on this paper. There's got to be a how and a why besides. So we don't let them just say, this is our goal. How are we going to do it? What's the why part of it? What's the word? So they have to speak up. How do you think we can accomplish it? They can't just say we want to win the conference when we're in this meeting. We don't want, we're not going to have, one of the goals our kids this year had was, we don't want any kid to have a discipline referral throughout the season. Well, how are we going to have that happen? And policing each other and so on. Okay, go ahead. Thursday night, after we have our team meal, I kind of got this. I spoke at a coach's clinic in Orlando that Coach Lattiser was at, and I kind of listened to him talk about this and how they did it at De La Salle, so we kind of copied it from them, is every kid that night, we have a rep from each position has to stand up and talk about their position goals for this season, or this game, I should say. For example, if we're playing Rice Lake, the D-backs know the ball ain't going to be in the air very often, so they aren't going to say, hey, we're going to have 3 interceptions or 2 interceptions. They're going to talk about not giving up the big play on a pitch, keeping things in front of them. If we're playing a team that throws it every play, their goals are going to be different. The injured players talk about what they're going to be their role during the game as far as keeping the tempo on the sideline. The sophomores who are up just for those varsity games who don't talk about their role during the game. So you don't have kids screwing around on the sideline that are sophomores. Players come up and talk about where we're at right now as a team. It's kind of like an open mic. Anybody can come up. Our mindset, position coaches say a little bit about where we're at, and then I kind of wrap things up at the end. And again, I'm not telling you this is the exact way to do things. I'm just trying to give you some ideas here. Get quality numbers in your program. Football's a numbers game. This year we had 147 players. We had 31 seniors. Okay, and how do you keep that? How do you keep that going? There's an attack on our game. More and more teams are losing numbers. Okay, this one here I think is probably one of the proudest I've been of. The group of kids. A lot of that had to do with the kids we had. In 2006, from when they started with freshmen, it's hard to do that. You don't have a lot of attrition involved. We only lost 4 kids along the way, from when they started as freshmen all the way through seniors. But those kids, a kid would say, I don't know if I'm going to say, those kids would pull them back in. But also I think there's things you can do to contribute to those numbers. Okay, go ahead. First of all, treatment of players. Kids need to know you care about them all year. And really go to bat for the kids, writing letters of recommendation, helping them find jobs, scholarships, and so on. When I say scholarships, I'm not just talking about athletic scholarships. Place to play. We got 18 players this past year that played college football somewhere. And I have JC in there because we had some kids play junior college football. It's all the only opportunity they had. We had kids playing in the Big Ten and kids all the way down to the junior college level. I think we had one at every level, FCS, Division II, Division III, and so on. Okay? Kids know that if you're going to go to bat and they see the number of kids that are playing college football, the kids know that from that are coming up. Hey, they're going to go to bat for me. Help them in any other way. Older kids talk to younger kids and parents talk. They're going to know. This one, some of you might think, we don't ever do anything on the weekends with our kids. We really work them hard in the day. In our community, we would lose kids. Our kids are hunting. They're probably coaching flag football in the morning, and they're out in a bow stand in the afternoon. We don't ever bring our kids in the morning on Saturday morning. We don't do anything with them on Sunday. The weekends are theirs. But that's just ours. I think we would lose kids in our community if we did. We feel like we work them hard enough during the week. They need some time off. They come back ready. Offer unique experiences. We take one of our contact days. We rent a field. It's not very expensive. It's at the Dells, right by the baseball fields. They got some soccer fields, football fields. We rent the kids love this. So we go to the Dells. We have a contact day on that practice field in the morning. Then we cut them loose and turn them loose in Noah's Ark in the afternoon. And we rent this big pavilion where they put all their stuff, and one coach is just sitting in there watching it. Every hour they have to report back and go with a different group of kids. So they can't just hang with the kids that are buddies. So it's a good way to get the kids to hang out with different kids. We had a special needs kid on our team this year that our kids really took care of. And every hour somebody else took, hey, I got Brandon this time. I got Brandon this hour. And they took him with them. So, and playoff, we had like kind of a catchphrase party during the playoff, stuff like that. Golf scramble, that's how we end camp every year. The night before our scrimmage, we have a guy that's awesome with us in Colfax, between Menominee and Colfax. So our kids pull a name out of the hat, that's the foursome they have. And we go out and play this golf scramble, and they don't get to pick their partners. Coaches, same thing. We don't go off with the other coaches. We're going to be on one of the teams. And we have prizes for all of this guy, and then we have a dinner afterwards and kind of talk about that. Ends camp. The kids love it because camp's over. Now it's scrimmage is the next day, then we're into regular practice time. And the guy really works with us as far as the price. And we get guys that have no idea how to golf. They're not very good, and it just works out that way. The kids have a great time. Done team paintball before, offense versus defense. That's a lot of fun. Another thing, go to the winter in sports, spring sports. I try to spend a lot of time going to those. This one also, parents want their kids in the program if you're going to monitor their grades and really watch what they're doing academically. Okay, go ahead. This is just something we don't bring a freshman until a week later after everybody else. I think you lose kids when you do that. We start so dang early now anyway, so we don't bring our freshmen. We never have since I've been there. We always bring a freshman a week later, so they're not intimidated being around the older guys. We ease them into it. We just don't bring them in until a week later. Make it fun. Remember the first three letters of fundamentals is fun, and we mix things up a lot. Okay. We make JV Monday a big deal. We play 4 levels at Menominee. We play freshman football, sophomore football, and JV football. JV is our Monday games that kids that don't get to play on the varsity that much. We make that a big deal for our juniors. You know, our varsity guys come down and coach them, and it's a big deal for our kids. We don't just say, oh, it's JV. We get seniors sometimes that don't get to play much, begging to play JV because they don't have to practice, but they also like going and doing it. Okay, it's not like one of those things that's an afterthought. Offer summer weight room hours at various, so they don't have to make a change between Legion and baseball. We have some kids that get to the weight room way too early. We're there at like 5:30 and they're standing at the door because they're working construction room and they want to get out of there before they have to go. Get to know your players, establish a relationship with them at an early age. I think teaching freshman classes, that really helped me a lot when I was coaching. When I'm not teaching anymore, I'm retired now, but I taught a lot of the freshman classes, so I got to know those kids right away. Okay. And then weight room after school with the freshmen, being in there with those freshmen after school. Okay, go ahead. And then community service. We really get our kids out and do a lot of stuff. Kids will really feel good about themselves, Bonnie, but you're going to be looked at differently in your community. If you get your kids out and do different things in the community, when you go to do fundraising and things like that, those businesses are going to look a lot differently at you than they would otherwise. Go ahead. Here's some of the things we do. Our kids absolutely love this one. I think it's one of the best things we do. This Project Tip Up they have on Lake Menominee and Menominee. They bring in all these wounded warriors. Some of them come from as far as like Alabama. They've never been ice fishing before, and they were scared at first to go out on the ice with a vehicle. Like, really, it's not going to fall through? And our kids will take these guys out in Rangers and four-wheelers, and they might be missing a limb or something. And our kids, every one of them will say thank you for. They'll say to our kids, like, hey, thank you for bringing them out to the ice house. They have all the ice houses already ready for them out there. Guys will put an orange tag on their ice house on the lake if we can use it for that day. And the guys will say, oh, thanks for taking us out there. And the kids all respond, no, thank you for your service and so on. Some kids are hole drillers, some kids are transporters, but our kids love that one. Okay. Super Bowl party for the adult with disabilities. We got this coming up this Thursday. We put on a Super Bowl party for all the mentally disabled people in our community. They just have a blast. Our kids great for our kids, and it really teaches our kids a lot. We do the setup for the Relay for Life and the Cancer thing. We do this every year. We set up the 4th of July festival in town called Freedom Fest. And all these businesses see these kids out there, so when you go to do fundraising stuff, it's not a problem because they know you're invested in the community. Okay? This one is quite different than a lot of people, and some people might say this isn't going to work, but it's worked for us. Okay? We've done this since I've been there. We have a program called Little Punters. Those are the kindergartners to third graders. And all our coaches are out there on Sunday nights, and our players are out there. Our varsity players are out. All those kids, by the time they're kindergartners, hey, Coach Price. They know who Coach Price is. Okay? They know our players, and they'll come to the games and say, number 31 is my coach. Look down at 31. That's my coach. They don't even care if he's playing. That's my guy. And they get to know our players, and that's what we do with Little Punters. 4th and 5th flag football players, again, they're coached by our players on Saturday mornings. Our players get paid to the rec department to do it, and there's 3 of them per team, and they're coaching, and they're running like our 4 pass plays and things like that. Okay? And in 6th and 7th grade, we still don't have them play. They play at night in a 6th and 7th grade play or 7-on-7 league, and it's pretty darn organized. They're all guys that played for me. Some of them have been doing it for 20 years. They're in their 40s, and they're guys that played for me, and they run our plays, pass plays and stuff, and it's very well run, and the guys do a super job with it. Okay, they have a draft so that the teams are real fair. We usually get 10 teams, we'll get 100 kids. Okay, all right, go ahead. So the first time our kids are in pads, they're in 8th grade. We don't want to chase kids away. And we do a lightweight and a heavyweight team, strictly by weight. And we usually get 70 to 75 kids that come out in 8th grade, and they're not coached by a bunch of parents that are overzealous parents that don't understand what we're looking for. They're all coached by middle school teachers who are our coaches and trained by us. Okay, and they can't play anybody both ways. There's 22 starters on each the lightweight and the heavyweight team, and so you got 22 kids on each team that are starters. And they run our 6-8 run plays, a couple pass plays, and our base defense. Okay, so that's the first time they're in pads. Okay, okay, go ahead, thanks. And the other thing I think about is you got to keep quality coaches in your program. Don't put all your best coaches on the varsity. For years, I had John Niederhauser as a freshman coach. He was phenomenal. He had such great patience. That's what I think that's the virtue that a freshman coach has to have the best. I don't know if I could do it, to be honest with you. But I don't know if I have enough patience. And now I have Matt Riley, our basketball coach, our freshman coach. I've had great freshmen. I've only had 2 freshman coaches. The whole time I've been here in 29 years, I've only had 2 different guys. And they've been great. They get those guys off to a great start. And I always tell them one of your biggest jobs as a freshman football coach is make sure they become a sophomore football player. And they do a great job teaching fundamentals. If possible, hire guys that have played for you. I have several on our staff. Drew played for me. He went down here to lacrosse to school. They know your expectations and what you want out of your team. And they do a great job. Okay. Next one, let your coaches coach. I don't even know what we're doing on defense half the time, to be honest with you. I might ask Pat and Drew on a Sunday night, who are you playing where? What are you doing? Do you need any offensive guys this week? We try to play most kids both or one way, but we have kids that occasionally have to go and play both. When do you need so-and-so and what? And we try to figure that out. If you don't do that, you're not going to keep guys. We got 6 guys that have been coaching with me for over 15 years. My O-line coach and my defensive coordinator, and then a guy that helps us at the sophomore level, Ken House. they've been there 25 years. So I have 3 different coaches that have been with us for over 25 years. Also, I don't ever say anything to our line coach, even though I run the call the offense. I ask him, how do you want to run this? How do you want to block this? How do you want to protect this? You know, and why would I say anything to him? In 2016, we threw the ball, probably the most we ever had. We threw it 241 times, gave up 1 sack. And we still rushed the ball for 2,000 yards. So I have an incredible line coach. His son plays for Iowa. He's running back and forth between the games and just does a great job. Another thing is, hire guys that are motivated and high energy. I think you're better off hiring those guys than guys that have great knowledge. You can teach them what you want them to know. And that's we've had some guys that didn't play college football and got there and said, hey, I want to coach, and I'm really energetic and motivated. I'd rather have a guy like that. We can teach them what we want to do, that are willing to work hard. Don't meet for the sake of meeting. I hear coaches talk about, yeah, we're meeting this month, and it's March, April, and their coaches are meeting. Our guys are all coaching different sports, most of them. If you want to keep quality coaches, we're really efficient with our meeting time. And it helps because our guys have coached together for a long time. We have 1 off-season meeting. And that may sound weird to some of you. We meet, what is it, a week before we start? That's it. I want, when it's the season, I want to work our butts off. I don't want those guys pulling away from their wives and their wives telling them they can't coach anymore. Most of our coaches coach another sport, and then keep the wives happy. We do kind of like a gift bag for our wives at the same point. And sounds crazy, you probably think I'm an idiot, but I play Santa on Christmas Eve and go to their houses, the ones that got little kids. If you want to see a picture of it, I'll show you. Mike's seen it. And so I got a bunch of guys with little kids, and Christmas Eve night, I was out being Santa, going to their houses, and the wives think that's unbelievable. And especially when the kids look at it and you say, I heard you were shoving your little brother playing tackle football. And they're like, how the hell does he know that? And they're looking at it, and they don't know who it is. And the wives think that's unbelievable. And so, you got to keep those wives happy. We have a Christmas party with all our coaches and their wives and so on, things like that. The other thing I really believe in is, I think that's a problem with a lot of young coaches. Everybody wants to jump on the new fad offense. They're in one offense 1 week or 1 year. 2 years later, they're in another offense. 2 years later, they're in another offense. I've been coaching a long time. When I first started coaching in Florida, everybody was running the old wishbone. That was what you saw when I was in Florida. 90s came along. When I came to Wisconsin, everybody was running the wing tee. Then in the early 2000s, there was zone scheme. Now everybody's doing gun read and so on. We really haven't changed a whole lot. We've changed a little bit within our personnel, obviously, is we're going to adjust to fit our personnel. Like we had a run on quarterback. We had 4 quarterbacks in a row that signed scholarships. Obviously Nate with Iowa, but we had 4 in a row. Nico Stockey was the player of the year. My son's at Winona State as a quarterback. We were really fortunate at the quarterback. So we threw it way more in the last 3 years until this. Then we got back to reality this year. We couldn't throw it to save our life. We had 3 games this year where we didn't complete pass, and we ran the football. We had a great tailback. We ran the football. But even those years we threw it a lot, we still ran the power I, especially when we needed something close to the goal line. And same protection scheme we run for 15 years. And here's kind of why I think wise. Everybody knows when it's nut cutting time and we got to have something, we're going to run the 25-26 toss. It's our play. Our kids have been running, but you got to stop it. Our kids have been running since they were in 8th grade. They know how to run it against every blitz. They know how to run it against every front, every scheme. And I think when you don't know something for sure, that's when you're hesitant. We want our kids to play hard and fast. So I think you got to be careful about jumping around too much with your offense. I look at like Kimberly. We played them in 2007 in the semifinals. When I watched their state game this year, they're not running anything different than they did then. It's the exact same 6 plays. And you look at like Rice Lake, they're still super successful on the state title this year. They're still running the same stuff they've run when Pinger came there. They haven't changed. Homestead still runs. You look at a lot of those teams that are super successful, they haven't really changed. You'll tweak to who you have at quarterback and so on. You add new plays, but I think it's tough for kids and coaches to really know something if you're switching it around all the time. Okay. Defense, same thing. Find a defense you can hang your hat on. Again, it's hard for kids to know technique if you're changing that. I think you have to do that, but by what kind of kids you have. We don't get a lot of big kids. We just don't. We don't get a lot of monster D linemen, O linemen. So our defense is based more off of quickness and speed. Okay? Special teams philosophy, I think in the lean years, that can make the difference. And we spend a ton of time on special teams. We don't pay lip service to it. We tell the parents in the meeting, we're not a team that's going to put the kid on special teams to get him playing time. And I always tell the parents this, if I don't trust your son to make a tackle around the line of scrimmage, why would I put him out in a wide open situation with their best athlete to have to make a tackle on a kickoff team? If, I'm going to get your son in when the score allows it, and if they're not one of the better players, but it's not going to be just to get them on the field. We begin every single practice with special teams. That's just our philosophy. I think it sends a message to the kids about how important it is. After stretch, that's the first thing we do every day. I think if you put it at the end of the practice, and rush through it, that's how kids look at it. Okay? And every day we practice, we have 20 minutes of special teams. And don't shortchange it, or kids will look at it that way. And use your best players that fit each special team. I had a college coach ask me, geez, I can't believe they had him back on punt and kick return too, as many times as he's carrying a football about our tailback. And I always thought to myself, I'm struggling all week, we're working the whole time to try to get him in the open field handling the ball. Why wouldn't I put him back there where he already has space catching the ball? Okay? Okay? Play the toughest non-conference schedule you can. I think you don't help yourself when you play teams you know you're going to blow out. You get better by playing better teams. Go ahead. In 1997, that was the year we were nationally ranked. We played the #1 ranked team in Minnesota the first game of the year. We played the #2 ranked team in Minnesota the second game of the year. We were fortunate to beat both those teams in a close game. They went on and met each other in the state championship, and we won the state title that year. And I think both those games made us a lot better. And we played Oswego, Illinois, the defending 6A state champion. Again, that was a dogfight, and it was a tremendous game. It doesn't always work out that you win. We played a tremendously talented Greendale team, in 2016. They beat us in a shootout, but we got better from playing them, even though we didn't win the game. Okay, I would say only one time has it backfired on us. And I told you how our year started in 2014 when we lost. We were down 8 starters after 1 week, and we had Nate Stanley standing on the cast, and we had to play a team that ended up in the state championship against Mount Carmel out of the Chicago Catholic League, and we got our ass handed to us bad. That's the only time I'd say it's backfired on us. The rest of the time, that probably wasn't good for our kids at the time, but for the most part, it's made us better by playing better people. Okay? Make decisions that for the long haul. I think when you make decisions about dealing with things and disciplining kids, you got to look at this. How are your young kids in the program going to view how you dealt with that? Okay, go ahead. And in 2015, we eliminated 4 players from our program. 2 of them had been all conference the year before. That was a tough decision. And I said, Nate Stanley and Mason Stockey stepped to the plate. Those 2 guys came to me and said, Coach, you got to get rid of these 2 guys. They're not following the training rules. They don't care, and they're turds. And they've gone the wrong way. We've tried to talk to them, and they're going the wrong way. And they're going to drag everybody down. I brought those 2 kids into me, and they lied to me, and I knew they lied to me. I called them out on it, and I said, you know what, we're going to go a different direction. And their parents came after me. Their parents came, I had an AD that stood behind me. But and I said, you can't worry about how they're going to react. One parent was pretty influential in the community, very influential person, can't matter. But I'll tell you, we won the conference in 2016 and 17, the last 2 years, and we didn't lose a conference game because of that decision. We had some kids that were going the wrong way. Things were starting to drift maybe a little bit the wrong way in our school, not just in our program. And when we got rid of those kids, some of the young kids that were maybe starting to go that way a little bit too, said, you know what, it doesn't matter if you're a player. They're going to get rid of you regardless. And so it cost us a little bit. We didn't win the conference in 2015. It probably cost us. Tremendous character out of Nate Stanley and Mason Stockey coming and saying, we need to get rid of these guys. But that decision was one of the reasons we won the conference. We got rid of kids that were good football players. That would have really helped us. But it helped the program in the long run. So I think you got to think about that. Maybe if you're at a smaller school you can't do this, but we always leave the freshmen together to start. Nate Stanley played freshman football when he was a freshman. Started on the freshman basketball team, started on the freshman baseball team. Here's our quarterback as a freshman, even though he came up and kicked off and punted for us. But we try to leave every freshman together, okay? as sophomores, we don't never bring them up and put them on the freshman or sophomore team. We try to even avoid bringing sophomores up. And we tell our guys the only way we're ever bringing a sophomore up to the varsity is if he's going to start for us and help us win a conference championship. Like Nate Stanley obviously played quarterback as a freshman. Mason Stockey played linebacker for us as a sophomore. Those were exceptions, obviously. But we don't bring a kid up and he's going to stand on the sideline or play a few plays, something like that. They're going to stay with it. I just think it keeps those kids together and it creates problems without jealousy. Try to stay loyal to your seniors. If it's close between a senior and junior, we're going to play the senior. And that's why I think kids stay with the program. Is we try to play seniors as much as we possibly can. And that's why I think kids stay with it, why we haven't had a number of problems. Right? Next thing, I really believe this, I think that high school football coach is currently the most important job in America. I think our society is in trouble right now. It's the last stronghold in our country that teaches these things as far as discipline and accountability. I think it's the best taught subject in our country. Everything's been made too easy. So one thing that hasn't been made easier, it's still hard, it's still tough, and it's supposed to be. We tell our kids that all the time. Football's not supposed to be easy, and I commend our kids all the time about coming out. I tell our parents the first meeting, you should look at your son and be proud of the fact they're sitting there in this meeting when we start the year, because they know they've made a conscious choice to do something that's really hard, that's really tough. And that's how I start our meeting. Really urge them to hang. I really urge you to hang in there. This was my 35th year coaching this year, and it's not always easy. But I have no regrets about obviously I haven't made a lot of money just like you guys have as football coaches. But I have no regrets, and at times it's really tough. But you need to understand your wife, which I'm really fortunate to have. But I look at it like this: if we lose high school football, and it's nothing against college coaches or anything. I think college coaches are awesome too. But I think high school, right now, the kids are so influential. If we lose high school football right now, who's going to look after these kids in our school right now? You know there's so many kids in your school right now. It's the only damn thing that's kept them out of trouble. It's the only reason why some of them come to school. There's a lot of teachers out there, anti-athletic people that don't understand that. But that's why I just have a message that really urge you to stay with coaching and keep doing what you're doing. You make a great difference in lives. Hope I didn't go over. Thanks. If I can help you with anything that we talked about, you take anything from it, be glad to do so. Thank you. One thing he asked me to let you know is Jeff Trickey had been bought out by Randy Wright, and Randy Wright had been kind of taken over doing the quarterback clinics, and it kind of drifted a little bit. It wasn't quite the same. Randy has gotten out of it, and Jeff bought the company back and is going back to doing the quarterback clinics himself again. And he's going to have one in Milwaukee, Wausau, Green Bay, Menominee, and Minnetonka. And then we also are having a mini camp, quarterback mini camp on March 4th in our field house. It's $20 a quarterback, so Jeff wanted to let me asked me if I would let you guys. If you could say that to the other things, he'd be appreciative of it. Thanks again, guys.